So, my friend Yao and I are proposing the construction of a low-cost, long-range drone. Most drones nowadays, used for animal conservation at least, could be upwards of hundreds or thousands of dollars, and we'd like to get the cost down, as well as keep the range very high, so that the flight times are, hours rather than minutes. And to do so, what we're going to do is base our design off of a pre-existing bird-like design out there that a company called Festo has already built. And I'm going to show you a quick 10-second clip of that. Sorry about that. Oh, it's right there. Yeah. Oh.
And now it's ready to take.
Just mute it. Yeah. That's fine. The main part you want to see is this right here. And this bird actually only has 2 servos, so it uses very little power, no more than 20 watts. And because of that, it can actually be made for a long-range flight if you were to, engineer it properly. Okay, so back to here. Our design will actually have a few extra features, such as a transmitter and receiver system. The onboard transmitter will be no more than $30-40 if we custom design a PCB, and it'll have at least a 1 kilometer range at that price point, so not too bad. Ideally, it'd be even wider, so that the ground station can actually be pretty far away from where the drone's deployed. Again, it'll take 2 servos, no more than $20, and require a 5-volt battery. And even with a few hours of flight, I think you can find a suitable option at around $10. So now, the frame and the basically the outer shell will need to be a pretty lightweight material that's also inexpensive and very hardy because it's to be deployed outside. We're thinking something like rubber or latex at the moment. And then the inner bones, which are attached to the moving servos, basically doing the flapping, could be infilled with a lighter than air substance like helium, and that would basically provide more lift and allow the drone to use even less power. And finally, our last bullet point is that it could be non-invasive. So if we were to use it for animal poaching prevention, we would be able to, explore animals' habitats non-invasively and quietly. But in addition, if we were to use it for animals poaching suppression, then in theory we could also stick on, a sound-emitting device that would basically scare away the poachers. Now the implementation, again, like I said, would cost less than $100, and because of that, it could be highly scalable and be made into a fleet of drones instead of just one. And at this price point, you could have a lot of citizen scientists be involved, in addition to, park rangers and whatnot who are interested in using this. Our current solutions are things like kites, balloons, which, they're tenable solutions, although kites tend to be, if they aren't rotor-based, they need to be tethered somewhere, which restricts the range. And for balloons, if they're at a high enough altitude, you need a pretty good camera, optic system to be able to image at a high detail, and that can be expensive alone. So we're thinking, a drone that's closer to ground would provide a more economical option. And finally, like I said, rotor aircrafts have shorter flight times. So we think our proposal might provide a viable option. Thank you.
If you're simulating bird flight, that seems sort of like very jumpy to actually use for film, for cameras. How do you account for that with that design?
Right, that's a great question. We only really care about, so if we have a frame, even if we had a low frame rate of, let's say, 10 frames a second, we'd still be able to capture a lot of our surroundings. And similarly, even if our bird were, our quote-unquote bird were flapping around, we would at least be able to capture, be able to tell, here's a person, that's an animal, and then even if, half of them were just crappy pictures, you'd be able to still tell what's going on. And of course, the process of figuring out whether there's suspicious activity could possibly be done by software too, but that's not our main focus.
So could you go a little bit more about just how long you envision this being able to stay in the air? Because I guess we've got fixed-wing drones already, and I know you went over the pros over fixed wings and multi-rotors, but what does this add to a fixed-wing drone solution that isn't out there right now?
Well, most fixed-wing solutions are rotor-based. So they're still more efficient than, let's say, a quadcopter, but I believe they're generally, they can't stay up there for more than, 30 minutes or something like that. Whereas with this, it could be at least an hour. And we haven't optimized the design, but we're thinking it's very possible.